When you think of a strong lead character in the sci-fi genre, you may think of the Terminator, or Neo, maybe even Roy Batty, or Ellen Ripley from Alien. While some in this group sure have saved the world a few times, none of them would survive in the Shimmer, and this is Lena, who did just that. I'm Jack Connolly, and today I'll be discussing the 2018 sci-fi horror film Annihilation, directed by Alex Garland. Well, believe me, there are many questions to ask at the end of this film. Whether Lena is actually Lena, how being in the Shimmer changed her, does it even matter, and endless more. Today we'll be focusing on the two teams we become familiar with that entered the Shimmer. The all-male team with military backgrounds, and the all-female team of academics. More specifically, we'll focus on our protagonist Lena, and how her display of both stereotypically masculine and feminine character traits offer the perspective that aggression, intellect, or any other personal trait doesn't require a gender. It's doing just that, ungendering these traits, making them not just typically male or female, that is required to all become the best and most empowered versions of ourselves. Or in less words that I can turn into a title, how Annihilation convinced me we should just get rid of gender. First, a little bit about the film. When a meteor crashes into Earth, it causes an area of the planet to go through some sort of mutation. This place was named Area X and is surrounded by an interestingly beautiful barrier called the Shimmer. While Area X is growing and nobody knows how to stop it, none of the groups that have entered have ever returned. As you learn, there's some pretty terrifying stuff inside the Shimmer, like man-eating fungus, people's DNA turning into plants, a bear creature using the scream of its victim as a hunting tactic, and so on. So the group before our protagonists, like all that were sent in before them, was composed completely of men with military training, one of which being Lena's husband, by the way. They entered the unknown and none returned, representing that attacking a situation in a stereotypically masculine way with weapons and using force over intellect clearly does not work. Then, the group Lena is a part of was all women with academic backgrounds, a psychologist, a biologist, a physicist, etc. By the end of their journey through the Shimmer, all but Lena failed to survive as well, showing that this film is not simply a critique of masculinity, but rather tells us that attacking the situation in a typically feminine way, using intellect and no force, also fails. It is only Lena who survives, as she is able to ungender herself by both possessing the military background displayed by the men and the academic background shown by the women. Now, when I talk about masculinity, I do not mean toxic masculinity that is so prevalent in society. That word toxic is key here. Toxic masculinity is using power or strength to get the things you want, often at the expense of others. But masculinity can actually be performed in a healthy manner, and is actually very important, using that strength to help. Lena exhibits this when she has the strength and courage to shoot the alligator while everybody else panicked, or when Lena went looking for Cass's body while the others sat and waited in fear. Now, this essay is not simply supporting normative masculinity. As I'm sure you've noticed by now, Lena is female. Instead, I'm arguing that these traits shouldn't be seen as masculinity, nor should anything feminine be seen as femininity. Personal traits should not be attached to a gender. Helping someone or being strong should simply be seen as what it is, a good quality, not a masculine or a feminine one. Lena displays this perfectly, as throughout the film she still shows typical feminine traits that either help or motivate her. Her desire for intimacy spawning her affair, her love for her husband causing her to accept the mission, and more simply, her academic approach to the Shimmer. Although, she shows more masculine traits as well. Her military background, internalizing difficult information from her team, and the mindset to continue to the lighthouse even after her entire team has passed. In an article about female masculinity in the Comedy Central show Broad City by Jonathan Branthman, he discusses a different masculine trait exhibited in the show, raunchy comedy. He explains that this female masculinity often causes these women to be associated with dirt, liminality, and taboo. and adds challenging pressures on women to censor masculine traits. Just like in Annihilation, a positive trait like being funny, regardless of how inappropriate, should not be assigned a gender, as both the film and the show display how ungendering these personality traits can help women. Branfman states that this discounting of gender norms through the raunchy woman symbolizes her disruption of social boundaries, including the limits of normative femininity, meaning that by performing in ways not typically seen as feminine, could in time cause these societal norms to dissolve, allowing for women to not feel tied or forced into our own society's interpretation of femininity. Annihilation does a great job of showing why this mending of gendered traits is crucial, as while Lena's typically masculine traits caused her to survive out of all of the women, the film refuses to let you forget that nobody in the team of men before them survived either, conveying the message that it was not only the masculinity in Lena that saved her, but a harmony of both masculine and feminine traits working together. For the rest of us that aren't planning on exploring the shimmer anytime soon, degendering traits is still extremely important for gender equality and feminism as a whole. In an article by Holly Crocker, she explicitly says that the emphasis on gender has dampened the insights and energies of feminism. She suggests a sort of feminism without gender, in which we focus more on the personality and vulnerability than how somebody would fit into a gender binary. Crocker argues that by removing gender and seeing someone just as their vulnerability, this could cause us to understand social inequalities in a new way, seeing how vulnerable women are in a patriarchal society without having to connect this to a gender. Annihilation works to do just that, forcing you to see Lena as both smart and strong, powerful and sensitive, looking past her as the female lead and using her story and emotion to present her simply as the lead, stripping her gender of any importance, as Crocker explains is so important for feminism. While on the surface, Annihilation looks like just another sci-fi movie about alien mutations, it is much more. A complex critique of how feminism and people in general, honestly, could benefit from annihilating gender. Thank you for allowing me the time to share my thoughts, and I hope you're leaving today with a new perspective than you came in with.